Our Wise Guys 4 Wide NFL preview continues. John Bena joining us. Denver Broncos, Mile High Report. John, it's great to have you back, my friend.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me back.
Hey, our pleasure. First things first, what's going on right now with the quarterback position? Of course, Kyle Orton is the number one starter. He's been taking snaps, but you've heard teams such as Miami as his next destination. Tim Tebow, of course, number two, but obviously looking to go for number one. Let's start first with what you think John Fox is going to do. Does he keep Orton?
You know, and here's the thing. I mean, what's going on at camp right now is probably not a surprise. I mean, I don't think anybody believes that right now today, Tim Tebow is a better NFL quarterback than Kyle Orton. I mean, as far as polish goes, and it's just as far as knowing the position, Tim Tebow is a better quarterback. I don't think any talk of a trade was necessarily because they felt Tim Tebow was better than Kyle Orton. I think they wanted to maybe strike while that quarterback iron was hot, take advantage of some teams that needed a quarterback, maybe get some value in return for Kyle Orton. I think the other belief is that Kyle Orton is not the future of the Broncos quarterback after 2011, even if he stays in Denver. So I think the Broncos were not going to just give him away. And as far as the Dolphins and even some other teams, I mean, that contract is inhibitive. I mean, a team that trades for Kyle Orton is going to owe him either $9 million this year or have to work out a new deal. So either way, he wasn't going to come cheap, both in terms of compensation of the Broncos or as far as, financially. And I think teams may just want to wait and sit back and see what happens maybe during the preseason and as training camp goes along to see if they want to pay that price. So I don't think Kyle Orton being the number one guy in Denver right now is a shock. He's probably the best quarterback on the roster. Whether he'll be there September 11th or September 12th for the Broncos when the season starts, that's another question.
How's Tim Tebow coming along? I know it's early, and I know that he was the first one through the doors when the lockout ended.
I've kind of described it this way, and I've heard other people do the same. Tim Tebow, training camp, this type of scenario with all the hoopla that surrounds, publicly viewed practices, and it's probably the worst thing because I think these types of practices, a training camp, probably brings up the worst in Tim Tebow's flaws. And the game, I think, is where Tim Tebow, all the strengths of Tim Tebow come to the forefront. His leadership, his passion, just his ability to go out there and make a play when everything seems to break down. So Tim Tebow, if you read the reports, has struggled. There's even been some talk that, Brady Quinn even may look better than him. But I think, you see this a lot in training camp. Guys are practice warriors. They look great when, people are in shells or there's no contact or, defensive linemen aren't coming at them to kill them. And then you get them in game situations and they kind of fold. And I think, that's kind of what's happened to Tim Tebow during training camp is, fundamentally sound and being a guy you'd make a training video off of, that's not his strength. And I think that's what you're seeing.
We are joined on the Southeastern Sports Medicine Wise Lines by John Bena. MileHighReport.com as 4 Wide with the Broncos continues. You can find him as well on Twitter. Search Mile High Report. Yeah, Seth.
I wanted to ask John about the Broncos defense, once proud unit. I know they're rocking a whole bunch of aging veterans there, but I think that people are going to be pleasantly surprised next year with some additions they've got with mainly rookie Von Miller, and they're also getting Elmas Dumervil back from injury. Not having him was a big reason. I think they were last in the NFL in sacks last year with something like 23. John, what are the early reports on the defense and some of these other new draft picks that you got there?
Well, I think maybe the most exciting change to the Broncos, other than Von Miller, and is new defensive coordinator Dennis Allen. I mean, here's a guy that came from the Greg Williams tree. I guess if you want to call it that, who's the defensive coordinator in New Orleans. A guy that likes to attack, opposing offenses, likes to dictate, really likes to hit people. And that's what the Broncos have sorely lacked. They've tried to, run a defense that's more read and react the past several years. And I think what you're going to see now, especially with where the strength of this defense lies, and it's in the names you mentioned. It's the pass rush with Von Miller, Elvis Dumervil, even Robert Ayers, who now will go back to his more traditional position. He was a defensive end in a 4-3 at college. Now, they tried to convert him in the 3-4 to an outside linebacker. It didn't really work. I think now you're going to see maybe some players, be used for their strengths instead of trying to be shoehorned into a system. And I think that's going to bode well for the Broncos. And they're going to get after the quarterback because that's what they can do well. They have some issues at depth as far as the defensive line goes, especially inside, and the linebackers. It's a bit thin at linebacker, so they're going to have to really create some opportunities to get off the field, and I think they'll do that with aggressiveness with those guys, and I'm excited to see what they can do once the game starts.
John Bena joining us, MileHighReport.com, blogger with the Denver Broncos, reporting on the Broncos, I should say. The Broncos, 4 wide, our NFL Gold Nuggets, or rather our NFL 4 wide feature. Go ahead, Seth.
Yeah, John, you mentioned the linebacker core. NC State fans from around here will recognize Nate Irving, a linebacker that Denver got with their 3rd-round pick. The guy is nasty. He had some injury concerns and some stuff happened to him, but I think you've got a good one there. One of the major moves that the Broncos made, they picked up Willis McGahee. How does he figure to kind of work in with Knowshon Moreno there in that backfield?
Well, as you guys know, John Fox likes to have multiple running backs running the football. He doesn't like to just give one guy all the carries. He likes to share it because he likes to run it so much. And he said it straight off. He said, this isn't about Knowshon Moreno as much as it's about how much we want to run the football. And I believe that. And what Willis McGahee offers the Broncos is a guy that when he gets in the red zone, gets down by the goal line, scores touchdowns. He scored 12 touchdowns a couple of years ago, 5 last year. He doesn't need a lot of touches to be successful. He hasn't really carried the ball all that much the last couple of years, which means despite being, going into his 8th year or so, he still should have a lot of tread on the tires. So I think he offers the Broncos a veteran and maybe a positive influence for Knowshon, because he's a guy that came in the league with a lot of hype and dealt with some injuries, obviously the bad knee injury in college, and has really found a niche for himself, and I think that'll help Knowshon. And you mentioned Nate Irving, and I'll tell you what, that guy, you said nasty, and there's no doubt about it. I mean, he is out there laying wood, and I think everybody out there knows how talented he was, before the car accident, and now that he's just to get back to this point, where he's in an NFL training camp, vying for a starting spot even. He says all you need to know about the heart he has, and if he can get back to the type of player he was projecting to be before the accident, I think the Broncos got a real good one, and we're excited by what we've seen so far.
Yeah, for the longest time, the Broncos had long relationships with coaches like Shanahan and Elway at the quarterback position, but it seems like in recent years, a little bit of uncertainty, maybe not the results they're looking for. How patient is Denver going to be with John Fox, do you think, in terms of getting this team, to a level that fans are really excited about?
Well, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, and it started even when Mike Shannon was still in Denver on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, the instability. I think Champ Bailey's played for 6 or 7 different defensive coordinators the last, 7 or 8 years. I mean, it's been just constant turnover, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And just that instability does not bode well. And for as much stability as the Broncos had, I mean, it's been a shock to Broncos fans, all the turnover the last 3 or 4 years. And I think what they did first, they went out and got John Elway back and put him in the front office. And I think that was a huge move. And I'm not talking PR wise or figurehead wise. The guy knows football. His dad was a scout, was a coach. I mean, it's in his blood. His whole life before he was John Elway. So they went and got him, and then I think they got the right coach. And I know, John Fox and his departure in Carolina, was not the best, but I think, he's proven he can take a team that is in kind of, that is in disarray and straighten the ship very quickly, get the respectability very quickly, fix a defense, which is obviously something the Broncos need to have happen. And I think Broncos fans will be patient because they have a head coach that has a history both of working in very successful franchises. Fox was with the Steelers, he was with the Giants, and then what he did with the Panthers, turning that franchise around, getting to a Super Bowl, getting to an NFC Championship, with maybe not the best talent, at quarterback or at some other position. So I think I think the Broncos fans will be patient, because I think finally the direction is pretty clear, and it's the right direction. Let's build through the draft. We're not going to just go get big-name free agents just to, create a buzz. We're going to, teach the guys we have. We're going to get young, and we're going to do it the right way. And I think that Broncos fans are excited about that.
John, we appreciate you very much. John Bena, a MileHighReport.com blogger covering the Denver Broncos. We appreciate you. If any Broncos news breaks, we'd love to catch up as always, my friend.
Anytime, guys. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
You too, John.
Thank you, John.
All right, there you have it. John Bena right there. Good stuff on the Broncos.
These guys that are blogging for these teams or blogging about these teams, I say blogging for the teams, but they're actually blogging about them. They've been a good resource for us.
They have. And actually, these are the same guys we were using for our War Room NFL Draft Preview, which we got a lot of comments on out in the community that people really enjoyed that. So you can't get enough football.
And we touched base with just about every team.
Yes, we did. Seth.
And you can check out John's stuff at milehighreport.com or follow them on Twitter at milehighreport.
All right, you got it.